You've seen it before. Someone walks into a room and without saying a single word, people shift. Conversations pause. Eyes move. There's an invisible gravity around them. And then there's the other person who talks louder, tries harder, over-explains every opinion, and somehow commands less and less respect the more they chase it. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Respect is not given. It is not asked for. It is not performed. It is recognized. Like gravity, either you have it or you don't. Today, we're going through 10 principles drawn from psychology, behavioral science, and timeless human wisdom on how to become the kind of person others genuinely, instinctively respect. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. Principle 1. The paradox of neediness. The more you chase respect, the faster it runs. Here's the most counterintuitive thing about respect. It behaves exactly like a cat. Chase it desperately, and it walks away. Sit comfortably in your own space, unbothered, focused, self-possessed, and it comes and sits in your lap. Social psychologists call this reactance theory. People instinctively pull away from anyone who seems to need something from them too badly. Approval, validation, agreement, attention. The neediness itself becomes repellent, not because people are cruel, but because desperation signals low value, and we are wired to respond to signals. Think about the person who agrees with everything in the room, who laughs the hardest at every joke, who changes their position the moment someone pushes back. They aren't being liked more for it, they're being liked less, because there's no friction, no distinct shape. You can't respect a mirror. Psychologist Barry Schwartz, in his research on what he calls the paradox of choice, found that people with too many options, including social options, become paralyzed and anxious. The person who needs everyone's approval is chasing infinite options. The person who is grounded in their own values has already made their choice. And here's the shift. Stop asking, how can I get this person to respect me? And start asking, am I someone worth respecting? Those are completely different questions. One puts the power outside of you. The other puts it exactly where it belongs. The moment you stop needing respect from the room, that's the moment the room starts giving it to you. The desire for approval and the fear of disapproval are perhaps the most influential sources of human unhappiness. Albert Ellis, psychologist and founder of rational emotive behavior therapy. Principle 2. Your word is your currency. Spend it wisely. Think of your word as a bank account. Every time you say you'll do something and don't, you make a withdrawal. Every time you follow through, no matter how small, you make a deposit. Respected people have overflowing accounts. Behavioral psychologist Robert Cialdini, in his landmark work on influence, identified commitment and consistency as one of the most powerful forces in human social behavior. When people see that you do what you say, consistently, reliably, without exception, they begin to trust you at a cellular level. People judge your reliability not on your biggest gestures, but on your pattern of small ones. Did you reply when you said you would? Did you show up on time? Did you remember what they told you? Philosopher Immanuel Kant built his entire ethical framework on one idea: act only in ways you'd be comfortable turning into a universal law. In other words, if everyone broke their promises the way you do, what kind of world would that be? His answer was the foundation of integrity. Reliability is rare, which means in a world full of people who overpromise and underdeliver, a person whose word means something stands out like a lighthouse. Say less, mean it, do it.
Act only according to that maxim whereby you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. Immanuel Kant, philosopher. Principle 3. Silence is not weakness, it is strategy. We live in a culture that mistakes volume for value. The loudest opinion, the fastest take, the most words. We've been conditioned to think that's confidence. But research tells a different story. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that in group settings, individuals who spoke less but more deliberately were consistently rated as more competent and trustworthy than those who dominated conversation. Why? Because when they spoke, there was no noise to filter through. Every word landed. Ancient Chinese philosophy captured this long ago. The Tao Te Ching, one of the most widely translated books in history, teaches that those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know. That's not cynicism. It's an observation about the relationship between wisdom and restraint. Think about the wisest person you know. Do they fill every silence? Or do they speak when they have something worth saying?
Becoming comfortable with silence in conversations, in conflict, in negotiations, is one of the most underrated power moves available to you. The person who doesn't need to fill the silence controls the room. Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know. Lao Tzu, Tao Te Ching. Principle 4. Discipline is the most visible form of self-respect. Nobody respects the person who constantly talks about their goals and never acts on them. Nobody. And deep down, that person doesn't even respect themselves. Aristotle said it plainly, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence is not an act, it is a habit, not a speech, not an intention, a pattern. This tracks perfectly with what modern psychology discovered about identity. Psychologist James Clear, building on decades of behavioral research, showed that identity is not formed by your goals. It is formed by your systems. You don't rise to the level of your ambitions. You fall to the level of your habits. Research in psychology confirms that self-discipline is one of the strongest predictors of social status, not because it looks impressive, but because disciplined people are dependable. And dependability earns trust. Trust earns respect. Your body language, your follow-through, your daily habits, they broadcast your level of self-respect loudly, without a single word. You can't fake discipline, but you can build it. And every rep of showing up when you said you would, to the gym, to your work, to your relationships, compounds. Respect follows discipline the way shadow follows light. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle, philosopher. Principle 5. Stop seeking approval. Start seeking excellence. This one is going to sting a little. Every time you change your opinion because someone seemed annoyed. Every time you apologize for having a preference. Every time you laugh at a joke you didn't find funny. You are silently communicating, "I do not trust my own judgment." And people feel that, even if they can't name it. Psychologist Abraham Maslow placed self-esteem on his famous hierarchy of needs, specifically distinguishing between esteem that comes from external approval and esteem that comes from internal mastery. His research was clear. People who derive their self-worth from internal standards are psychologically stronger, more resilient, and more naturally influential. Philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson put it even more bluntly. Envy is ignorance, imitation is suicide. The person who is always calibrating themselves to what others want ceases to exist as an individual. And you cannot respect something that has no distinct shape. When you stop seeking approval, something counterintuitive happens. People start giving it to you because you're no longer hungry for it.
and the hungry are never respected. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Ralph Waldo Emerson, philosopher and essayist. Principle 6. Own your mistakes before anyone else can. Here's a test. Think of two people. One who, when caught in a mistake, deflects, minimizes, and blames circumstances, and one who looks you in the eye and says, "I got that wrong. Here's what I'm doing about it." Which one do you respect more? Accountability is rare, and rare things are valuable. Social psychologist Brené Brown spent decades studying vulnerability, shame, and human connection. Her research revealed something counterintuitive. The people others trust and respect most are not the ones who appear flawless. They are the ones who acknowledge their failures with honesty and continue to move forward. She calls this wholehearted living, the willingness to show up fully, including in failure. And what she found, over and over, was that this kind of courage creates the deepest and most durable form of human respect. Psychologically, when you own a mistake before someone else points it out, you strip it of its power. You take control of the narrative. You become someone who cannot be destabilized by their own imperfection. Ownership is not weakness. It is the ultimate form of strength because it requires no defense. Vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up when you can't control the outcome. Brené Brown, research professor. Principle 7. Set boundaries and hold them calmly. A boundary without enforcement is just a suggestion, and people who make suggestions about their limits are not taken seriously. Psychologist Henry Cloud, in his landmark book Boundaries, argues that boundaries are not walls. They are property lines. They tell people where you end and where they begin. And people who don't know their own property lines cannot be trusted to navigate anyone else's. In social psychology, this connects to behavioral consistency. When people see that you follow through on your limits reliably and calmly, they recalibrate how they treat you.
Not because you demanded it, but because you taught them. Notice, the word is calmly. Anger signals that you are out of control. Calm signals that you are fully in it. The Buddhist concept of equanimity, the ability to remain steady under pressure, is not passivity. It is mastery. You don't need to yell to be heard. You need to be consistent. Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others. Brené Brown, research professor. Principle 8. Be interested, not interesting. Most people walk into a room thinking about what impression they'll make. Respected people walk into a room genuinely curious about the people in it. Dale Carnegie, whose research on human behavior shaped an entire century of psychology, observed that you can make more genuine connections in 2 months by being truly interested in others than in 2 years of trying to get others interested in you. Why does this work? Because feeling seen is one of the deepest human needs. Psychologist William James, considered the father of American psychology, believed that the deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated. When you are genuinely interested, when you remember names, follow up on what matters to people, listen without planning your next line, something powerful happens. People feel seen, and the person who makes others feel seen is never forgotten. Neuroscience supports this. Active listening activates the brain's reward circuits in the person being heard. You are literally changing how someone's brain feels. That creates attachment, trust, and respect automatically. Stop trying to be the most interesting person in the room. Be the most present. The deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated. William James, psychologist and philosopher.
Principle 9. Never let emotions make your decisions. Emotions are data. They are not commanders. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio discovered something fascinating in his research on patients with damage to the emotional centers of the brain. Without emotion, these patients couldn't make basic decisions. Emotion is not the enemy of reason, but unchecked emotion is the enemy of wisdom. Psychologist Daniel Goleman, building on Damasio's work, introduced the concept of emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, regulate, and wisely express emotions. His research across thousands of leaders showed that emotional intelligence was a stronger predictor of success, influence, and respect than IQ or technical skill. Think about the most respected people in your life. Were they people who exploded in frustration? Who went cold and passive-aggressive when things didn't go their way? Or were they people who felt things deeply, but responded with measured, decisive clarity? Buddhist philosophy calls this non-reactivity, the ability to observe your emotional state without being consumed by it. Not suppression, not detachment, just the pause between feeling and acting. Feel everything. Be ruled by nothing. Anyone can become angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose, that is not easy. Aristotle, philosopher. Principle 10. Build a life worth respecting, then let it speak. This is the principle all the others build toward. The most lasting respect is not the kind you engineer in social situations. It is not clever body language tricks or rehearsed authority poses. It is the quiet, undeniable gravity of someone who has built a life of integrity, discipline, and purpose. Psychologist Carl Jung wrote about the concept of individuation, the lifelong process of becoming fully and authentically yourself. Not who your parents wanted, not who your culture pressured you to be, but the truest, most integrated version of you. Jung believed this was not just a psychological achievement, it was a moral one. Ask yourself, if no one was watching, no followers, no audience, no approval, would you still live the way you do? If the answer is no, that's where the work is. Philosopher Albert Camus said we must imagine Sisyphus happy, that meaning is not found in outcomes, but in the choices we make in the process. The respected person doesn't need their life to be witnessed to have value. They live with integrity, whether or not anyone applauds. Character is who you are in the dark. Reputation is what people see in the light. Obsess over the first. The second takes care of itself. Build something worth respecting. The respect will follow. It always does. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Carl Jung, psychiatrist and psychologist. So, here's what we know. Respect is not a performance. It is not a trick. It is not a strategy you switch on before walking into a room. It is the natural byproduct of a life lived with clarity, self-awareness, and unshakable discipline. Control what you can.
Keep your word. Embrace silence. Live with discipline. Stop seeking approval. Own your mistakes. Hold your boundaries. Be genuinely interested in others. Master your emotions. And build a life you're proud of, whether anyone is watching or not. These aren't revolutionary ideas. They're ancient truths dressed in modern language. They've been discovered independently by psychologists, philosophers, spiritual traditions, and behavioral scientists across centuries, because they are simply true. The question was never, is this the right way to live? The question is, are you willing to do it? If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe, because this is just the beginning. Respected people aren't born, they're built.